Sometimes we talk about subjects that affect a few. Sometimes we talk about subjects that affect a few more. But every now and then we have a discussion on a subject that influences and affects everybody. And one of those subjects is health. You know, we are human beings and we are living. And in order to live meaningfully and lengthily, if I may use that expression, then we have to be knowledgeable about our health and the things that can go wrong with our health and the things that we can do to make sure that we live a long, long time and live a meaningful life, a healthy life. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. But we're going to kind of specify men's health, you know, because oftentimes men have to be encouraged more, unfortunately, than women as it relates to doing things to be healthy and go to the doctor and take care of their health. And we have with us today Mr. Charles Krause, who is a community educator, and he works with healthy communities. And I'm real happy. And those of you who hear this show, and those of you who got men in your life, you know, males, and, you know, so even if they're not listening now, you want to be sure to share this information with them because they're your loved ones and you want what's best for them. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, and as I said, we have with us Mr. Charles Krause, who's a community educator for healthy communities. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on again.
You're welcome, glad to be here.
I want to begin, I think the best way to begin this show is to talk about you. You know, not only your experiences, but something that's connected with your health that happened to you. Tell that story for us.
Well, back about 2000, I started to have a little blood in my urine, went to the doctor and everybody said, it's nothing. We're going to prescribe some antibiotics. It's probably nothing, but we're going to do one screening. And then the blood did not go away. They did the screening and I had a slightly abnormal score, slightly, like 0.2 of a point.
The PSA?
The PSA. And so they prescribed antibiotics, the bleeding went away for a short while, and then it came back. And I went to the doctor again, and she said, it's probably nothing, but I'm going to repeat the screening and I'm going to give you more antibiotics. So again, I took the antibiotics for 6 weeks, the blood went away, and then about 4 weeks later, the bleeding came back again. And my doctor said, I'm going to refer you to a specialist. And the specialist said to me, it's probably nothing, but I'm going to put you in the hospital, we're going to do a biopsy of your prostate gland. I had no family history of prostate cancer, and I should not have even been screened until age 50. But at this point, I was 47 years old. So the doctor put me in the hospital, and he did a biopsy. And on April 15th, 2003, tax day, I literally found out standing in a broom closet, the phone rang. It was a number I did not recognize. And the doctor said, this is Dr. Blank. So he said, can you speak? And I said, hold on a second. So I literally stepped into a broom closet. I was in a broom closet when I found out I was diagnosed with cancer. And he said, Mr. Krause, we found some cancer cells. I need to meet with you and your wife this evening, and we're going to discuss the options that you have. But I'm so thankful that I went, and I'm so thankful that I was persistent, because everybody agreed with the degree of prostate cancer that I had, totally unbeknown to me. I probably would have died within 5 to 10 years if I had not sought out treatment. I probably wouldn't even be here today if I had not sought out treatment.
Well, I'm very, very glad you're here. Now, were you a medical educator at the time, or did you go into it?
Well, actually, I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in education, in health education. Okay. So I graduated 40 years ago this year, so I've been doing this for 40 years.
Right. Now, let's talk about men's health. And I know that you've got a seminar coming up, a screening on September the 29th, I believe it is, from 7 to 11. But just talk about all of the kind of things that can go wrong with health, like prostate, diabetes, kidney, overweight. Just talk about those things that can go wrong. And let's talk about, well, we want to talk about prevention and treatment. And let's start with prostate cancer, since that's the subject we're on.
Okay. Well, one of the things that they recommended is a man start screening at either 40 or 45, and then he talk to his doctor and decide what is best for him. But the recommendations are that he get a PSA screening if he and his doctor agree, and a digital rectal exam. That can start at either 40 or 45 or 50. You need to talk to your doctor.
Okay, now people, talk a little bit about the digital rectal exam, because you don't hear that expression much.
No, you don't. The digital rectal exam, the doctor inserts a gloved finger into the rectum and feels the prostate gland. The doctor can feel about 80–85% of it, and they're looking for hard nodules. Something going on that needs to be investigated further. That plus the PSA score.
Okay, so there are really two things that you want to encourage the doctor to do.
Exactly.
Because now, is it possible for the obviously, the PSA to miss it, but the digital rectal exam could detect it?
That is possible, and the opposite is also possible. It's possible the doctor feels nothing on the digital rectal exam, but the PSA suggests that there's a low score that's slightly abnormal. Remember, when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, 2.5 was the maximum for a Caucasian man of my age, and mine was 2.7. So it was just slightly above, and the prostate gland felt fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So now, when should one try to get a biopsy? I mean, what should drive that?
Really talking to the doctor. If the doctor finds abnormal PSA scores, he or she might want to repeat the PSA. And then if it's again abnormal for 6 or 10 weeks later, whatever the doctor decides, then the doctor might recommend that we do a biopsy.
Okay. Now, prostate cancer is just really something that happens. Are there any contributing factors to one getting?
It could be the diet that we consume. Certainly our family history is a contributing factor, and I myself had no family history that I know of prostate cancer. So that could be it.
Yeah, okay. But the moral of the story is get checked.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about other situations that happen to men. Let's talk about diabetes and the detection and the prevention.
Well, one of the things that we do at our health fairs is we do glucose screenings. And we did a health fair earlier this year in which a man had a score of over 600. So the nurses counseled the man and his wife. He agreed that she could be part of the conversation. And they said, we really think that you should be followed up with a doctor, by seeing a doctor. And it needs to happen within the next couple of weeks. Well, the man and his wife talked for a few moments with our nurse who was there, and they agreed that he would go to the urgent care center that day, and he did. And he went to the urgent care center based on what he told me, and his score again was high, and they felt that he needed to be admitted to the hospital as an inpatient. So he was admitted to the hospital. They got his glucose score under control, and he enrolled in the Diabetes Healthways program. He's learning about how to eat, he's learning how to check his glucose, and the last time I talked to him and his wife, his scores had dropped remarkably to about where they should be. But if he hadn't gone to the health fair that day, and if he hadn't had that screening, we would have never known that he had a glucose score that was basically out the window.
Now, what are the contributing factors to diabetes?
It can be the way you eat, it can be what you eat, it can be your weight, if you're overweight, eating a lot of sugar, not having that under control. So proper exercise, proper nutrition lowers your chances.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, now is there a way, to change one's behavior and really keep it under control?
There is. As a matter of fact, the man that I'm discussing, his glucose scores are fine now. He's doing great. He's watching what he's eating. He's checking his glucose every day. If he needs to give himself medicine, he does. But his scores have dropped remarkably because he didn't really know anything about diabetes at that point.
Well, diabetes is very, very important. And there are a couple of other things that are going to be discussed and dealt with at the seminar. And one of them is stress. A lot of people probably don't even believe that stress plays a role in a person's health. Talk a little bit about that. How stress can and does play a role, and maybe what one can do about, addressing the stress in his or her life.
It gets down to the old flight or fight syndrome, where we secrete hormones when we're under stress, and if that's going on constantly, day in and day out, and in the evening, and we're never relaxing, and we're constantly under stress, and we're gritting our teeth, and we're flexing our muscles, after a long...
Yeah, because I want you to talk a little bit and you kind of mentioned it, but I think it's important, to educate the community about really how, and I think you just mentioned a couple of them, how to really detect it, because I think, and you can correct me, that oftentimes people are stressed and don't know it.
Yes, sir.
So talk about those indicators, if you please, those warning signs of stress.
Not being able to sleep well, having irregular heartbeats, constantly being jittery. Those are all suggestions that maybe we're under too much stress. Of course, a mental health counselor can help you identify if you have high levels of stress and make suggestions to lower it. And at our Men's Health Fair, we will have someone from the Psychiatric Pavilion speaking specifically about how to control stress and lower your stress levels.
So, there's not a real physical diagnostic way to determine stress.
Could be blood pressure's up, it could be the pulse is up. It's best to talk to your doctor about that.
Okay. So you can go to the doctor and look at those indicators and tell. Now, so why are you doing this health fair?
Well, actually, this is the 15th year that we've been doing the Men's Health Fair, and when we suggested it 15 years ago, people at the hospital said men won't come because there's a belief out there that men are not concerned with their health. But we tried it, and it's one of our popular health fairs. We'll have probably 150 to 250 people come. It's been going for 15 years strong, and that's fantastic. But people thought, well, men aren't going to come, men don't care, men think they're invincible, men are strong, men are tough, they're not going to come to the health fair. But actually they do. And we do thousands of screenings at every one of these health fairs.
And I'll bet you that if you tracked it, those two stories that you just told, the man with diabetes and the man talking to me, are not the only two stories that can be told from positive results from people getting themselves checked.
Exactly.
And so, not only will there be screening, you're going to also have seminars?
Yes, sir, we are. We're going to have 4 or 5 seminars, and men and women who come to the Men's Health Fair are welcome to go to those seminars. One is going to be called Men and HIV/AIDS. The other one is going to talk about cardiovascular risk factors and how to control those risk factors. Another one will be Men and prostate cancer, Men and diabetes, and Men and stress. So we will have recognized experts in their fields talking to the men and women that go to those seminars, each about 30 minutes long, about how you lower your stress levels, how you identify your risk factors, how you change your diet, how you increase your exercise, HIV testing, that whole thing.
Well, in the legal world, there's an expression that says ignorance of the law is no excuse. Well, not knowing about your health is no excuse, because what one can do is come to that health fair and then learn all about many of the factors that contribute to one's health. When is the health fair? And go ahead and invite the community and tell them where it is.
It is going to be September 29th, which is the last Saturday of the month. It's going to be at Central Georgia Technical College. We will open up the doors at 7 a.m. and we will close the doors at 11 a.m. It's the Macon Campus Building, H as in Henry. And for people who would like to pre-enroll, they can do that at our website, www.navicenthealth.org, after September 1st. If they go to that website, navicenthealth.org, they hover over the community page, a screen will pop up and say Men's Health Fair registration.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed Mr. Charles Krause, who's an health educator, and I'm encouraging everybody you know, to go ahead and go to that website, www.navicenthealth.org, and you'll see a tab, I'm sure, so you can go ahead and register for the health fair. Now, so you can't say ignorance is an excuse, because now you know. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
Have a great day. One of the biggest mistakes that we make as a society is that we do not give enough consideration to or pay enough attention to the significance and importance of dealing with young people. You know, helping them to grow, helping them to learn, being mentors for them. And really, I think that the whole world could be improved by 40% if those of us who are professionals and adults and who play other roles in the lives of young people could realize that, you know, the old adage that said, each one reach one, each one teach one. So today I'm more than a little excited about discussing a program in our community that deals with something that's important, which is entrepreneurialism. So there is a program in our community that's designed to teach young people how to be effective entrepreneurs and how to make some money. As a matter of fact, this year, the Making Little Georgia Black Pages is going to focus on young entrepreneurs and professionals, because too often old folk who are in positions don't understand that it's our obligation to reach back and bring young people up, because, hey, guess what? I was young one day, but I got older. But if you're going to get older, then you need some training and some experiences that will contribute to your success as an adult and as a young adult and as a professional. So I'm more than a little happy today to have with me Miss Jennifer Baggarly, you know, who works for the Chamber of Commerce, and she heads up a special program that deals with young people. But before we talk about your program, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Jennifer Baggarly, and I am the program manager for the Young Entrepreneurs Academy and the Young Professionals Network. I myself am an entrepreneur. I have an event venue in Gray, and I also have a 12-year-old son. So I know how important entrepreneurship is and child rearing. So I'm very excited to be able to share my experiences and wisdom and struggles with professionals and aspiring young entrepreneurs.
So now, how did you kind of get into your entrepreneurial experience?
Well, I started in Gray, where I'm from, working for Main Street Gray, and that program focuses on economic development in a downtown area. And I had to do the property inventory of all of downtown. So I started looking, and I noticed all the property were owned by someone named LLC. And I was like, who is that? So I figured out what an LLC was, and I said, you know what? I may try to do one of these LLCs. So it just so happened a property came on the market. It was super cheap, and we made an offer, and they accepted it. And then we had a building, but we didn't know what we were going to do with it. So we decided to make it an event venue. And that was over 4 years ago, and it is still there, still an event venue. And we have roughly between 8 and 12 events a month.
Wow. Well, that's it. And the reason I asked you that question is because I think we need to emphasize that everything comes from an idea, you know, and then we need to pay attention. You know, we've got some young people who are taking videography or what have you in the room with us today, you know, and who may have an idea to start a business or to invent something, you know. So it's important for us to encourage our young people and tell them that if you have an idea, you know, then it's highly possible that it can be transformed or converted into a business. But in order for that to happen, then, you know, and I told these young people when I first got here, that they got to have skills and they got to have information. But if you garner the right kind of information, then that will could possibly result in making some money, which is what it's all about. So what does, talk about the Young Entrepreneurs Program, when it started, and just everything you want to tell us about.
Well, the Young Entrepreneurs Academy is a national program out of the Rochester Institute in Rochester, New York. It started probably 15, 20 years ago, and communities across the United States and other countries have picked it up. Macon, Georgia was the first community in all of Georgia to pick up the program, so we're super proud of that. Now Valdosta, Georgia has a program, so there are 2 programs in Georgia now. It is open for kids between the ages of 11 and 18, so 6th through 12th grade, and you compete for funding. You compete at the national level in Rochester, and last year our Macon winner finished 5th in the nation.
Wow.
And the top 3 finishers received quite a bit of scholarship money. So we were just 2 away from finishing in those big spots. So that's our goal this year, is to finish in the top 3 and bring a scholarship winner back to Macon.
Okay, this is a call to action.
A call to
I'm
action.
your host, Alex Habersham, as I said, interviewing Miss Jennifer Baggarly. She said I'll try to look at the tag to remember her name. I really had to look at the tag that time, but I remember from now on. You know, who works with the Young Entrepreneur Academy. And, you know, I got a couple of questions for you, Ms.
Okay.
You know, how does a young person get involved in the Young Entrepreneurs Academy?
Well, we go to the schools. We recruit Macon-Bibb County students. We go to the schools. We speak to the counselors. This is our 3rd year, so a lot of the counselors are already familiar with the program and have a look out for some kids each year that they would like to send. The application is online on our website, maconchamber.com. Just look under the program tab for the Young Entrepreneurs Academy and follow the link. And that is how we try to find you guys.
So anybody can really, I mean, there is a application process, but okay, if a person is between 11 and 18 and feels like he or she is interested in being an entrepreneur, then they can apply for the academy.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
It is a competitive process, so the application is pretty thorough. You fill it out online. It includes a short essay. Then you mail in supplementary information like your high school transcript and a letter of recommendation.
Okay, now, does the person necessarily have to be interested at the time into going into business, or can they just develop a business idea later on?
Yes, many of the students, I always say that entrepreneurs are born entrepreneurs. It's just a spirit that people possess, I think, really early on in life. And they may not can pinpoint, especially, our middle schoolers, but they know it's there. And we take, as you said earlier, these ideas and we transform them into opportunities, and the opportunities translate into real businesses.
Talk a little bit about the activities that the entrepreneurs go through, the curriculum and the activities and the programs and the trips, just from A to Z.
Okay, so it is a 20-week program. It begins with orientation on October 10th. All of the classes are held on Wednesdays from 4:30 to 7:30 at the Mercer Innovation Center. So we're super proud to be able to meet there. The first class, we talk about business ideas versus opportunities. The second class is a field trip. So we go to a cool business, and then we pick back up with the curriculum. In December, about 4 classes in, guest speakers and mentors come. And these mentors and guest speakers are the best Macon has to offer. We have Superior Court judges, lawyers, tax accountants, big businessmen and women working one-on-one with these children for 5 weeks and speaking to them on the various different things for their business.
How long is the total program?
It's 20 weeks. So October 10th begins with orientation, and one of the most exciting events is the investor panel. So if you've ever seen Shark Tank, that's what that is. And these kids, they get up here in front of all these adults, and they have a panel right in front of them. And the idea is to intimidate them just as the show does. And they do an amazing job. And the girl who...
So they project a business idea,
Right, so
and
they
try to pitch to these individuals to invest in their idea.
Right, so the panel is made of the investors. So they pitch their business, and then the investors convene after they've heard all pitches, and they decide who they want to invest in and at what amount.
Now, is this actual or is this play?
Oh no, it's actual. It's actual money.
So do they come up with different ideas as it relates to a business that they would like to launch?
Oh, yeah.
The young entrepreneurs.
Right, so by the time the investor panel event occurs, it's towards the very end. So their business is totally launched. They just haven't done their technical DBA with the courthouse, but everything about their business, their name, their website's launched.
So the objective is to get them start the process of really and actually starting a business.
Well, they do. All of our kids.
So that's part of it. I mean, that's what you do.
Yep, they become business owners at the end of the program.
Wow.
They have an EIN number, a DBA.
Wow.
Yeah, they are full-fledged business owners at the end of the 20-week program.
Yeah, can you relate some of the businesses that have been started through the academy, and maybe some of the success stories?
Well, our biggest success story is the girl from last year, because she finished 5th in the state. It was a very unique business. She partnered with another country with women who did not receive wages for work, and she was able to get them to receive wages to make these handmade bags, which were sent to the United States and sold. And the proceeds from those handmade bags bought duffel bags in the United States to supply to foster children who carried allegedly a grocery sack around of their stuff. So this gives them a lot with their own duffel bag.
Yeah, are there any others that you can think of right off?
Well, I wasn't here the year before last year, but I've seen pictures. So I know one boy that I've heard a lot of people talk about, he did spray painting on canvas shoes. That was really cool. He would freehand it. There was a little girl in middle school who did paper dolls or finger puppets, and they told stories, and I really liked that one. And then this past year, there was also a kid who developed an app. It was called something jobs, and so he connected people trying to do, small jobs in the community with people who needed someone just to, rake their leaves or something like that. So he actually launched an app.
Did you say how many students are in it?
The first year we had 24, which is the max number.
Right.
Last year we had 15. This year our goal is to get back to close to 24.
Well, let me look in this camera
Okay.
and tell these young people, not only out there, but also in this classroom or in this studio with us. We are filming from Hutchins Career Academy, and we have with us young people, both men and women, very diverse group of young people who are taking videography from Mr. Finkelstein. And I think it's important. I'll say that again. I think it's extremely important that young people are exposed to all facets of careers and experiences and education, because they can and will be successful if in fact we invest in them. So I'm just happy to know that you all are doing this, and that it's going to be very, very important, that it relates to the young people. We got to do this. It's our responsibility. But the thing that I really want to say is that if in fact the capacity is 24, why y'all ain't in the class? So some of you could and should be. When does the next one start?
So we're in the application process right now. So
Oh,
the
no,
deadline,
as we speak?
As we speak. The deadline is September 14th. So you must have your applications in by then.
Okay.
So it's about a month.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about the Young Entrepreneurs Academy?
Well, it looks really good on a college resume. I can't think of many programs that would look more prestigious on a college resume. So, you know, if you really want to separate yourself, going through this 20-week program would do that.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed Ms. Jennifer Baggarly
Yes, sir.
of the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. And what about contact information?
You can get in touch with me by calling the chamber anytime and asking for Jennifer Baggarly. There are 2 Jennifers, so you have to make sure you say Baggarly.
Okay.
You can email me at jbaggarly, jbaggarly, @maconchamber.com. Or you could just Google Young Entrepreneurs Academy, Macon, Georgia. You know, whatever you can remember, you'll be able to find the program or find me.
But they still have time to apply.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
This is a call to action.
A call to
I'm
action.
your host, Alex Habersham. Have a great